Hello friends and welcome back to Generation Pixel. And today, well, I'm going to have to answer a question. You see, Nate over at the Game Shack has asked a very important question and he wants the community to give their answer. And that question, well, it's quite simple. What is retro? Now if you want to see what my take on what is retro is, you just have to wait until after these titles. So what is retro? Now I'm going to give an answer to this. Now it's not an easy answer to give because it's quite a personal answer to give. And I'll be frankly honest, I was going to answer completely differently. You see, I was going to be my usual pedantic Scottish self, but unfortunately 005 Amiga beat me to it. So you can go and watch his video after this one. But if you're truly interested in seeing what my answer is to this question, don't go quite yet. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's quite an interesting answer to this particular question, and I haven't seen anyone answer it quite this way before, so let's have a think. What is retro? Now the true essence of the question that Nate has asked is not one that you could probably dip into a dictionary anyway for. There is no real definition for what is retro when it comes to the world of video games. And you could probably ask this question to 1,000 different people and probably get 1,000 different answers. Now from those 1,000 different answers, a lot of the notions are going to be very similar, such as how much time has passed, how nostalgic are people for a set period of time, and of course, is the hardware still manufactured today? And you know what? Every one of those answers from every one of those 1,000 people is absolutely correct, because there is no way to truly pin down what retro means to everyone. Now if you want to know my answer to this question, let me take you all the way back to the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, because for me, anything before the original PlayStation is retro, and anything from to after obviously is current gaming. Now I can imagine quite a lot of you out there thinking, wait a minute, PlayStation 1, even PlayStation 2 are definitely retro. So here's my argument for that. I don't really consider graphics or hardware power to be the main driving force in what I consider to be a retro game. No, I'm much more focused on gameplay and user interface. So for me, when Sony released the PlayStation, there was a quantum leap in gaming. We moved away from 2D into 3D, and eventually with the DualShock controllers, 2 analog sticks that could control character and camera at the same time. And that for me, in my humble opinion anyway, is where modern gaming started. And everything before that, well, that's retro. We moved away from 8 or 16-bit sprites and away from controllers that had maybe a couple of fire buttons and a directional pad, or even like the old Atari, the joystick with one button, and moved on to the Sony PlayStation with polygonal 3D graphics and had games where you could interact with the entire environment in a 3D space. Now I know a lot of you out there are going to be saying, but the PlayStation 1 games are still retro, they still don't look like the games that we have today. But my argument is that they are still the same games that we have today. We just have more polygons or triangles or whatever they're using at the moment to make the characters and models and backgrounds much smoother and much more lifelike. There hasn't, however, been a dramatic shift in the way that we game. And if there's anyone out there shouting, well, VR's came a long way, well it has, VR has come a long way, but it's not quite mainstream yet. And even though the new Oculus Quest is wireless, which is fantastic, it's still a bit cumbersome to play, so it hasn't quite taken over into the mainstream market yet. And it's not until something moves from the fringes into the mainstream market that you can truly say that there's been a real shift in gaming. So until VR becomes much more accessible to, well, the masses, it's not going to be anything more than fringe gamers that play on it. And I'm sorry to say that, Steve, but you know who you are, and I know that VR will probably make more of an impact down the line. It's just not quite there yet. But who knows, Sony themselves are starting to work on their own new VR projects, so maybe in 5-10 years VR will be the next shift, and then everything before that point, as in the consoles that we're using today, they will become retro, and then maybe VR becomes the current norm for gaming. But until then, we're still with the same mechanics we had back when Sony released the PlayStation. The same sort of human interface devices, so as far as I'm concerned, anything before the Sony PlayStation is retro, anything after it is current gaming. Albeit with a new lick of paint, better loading times, or whatever bells and whistles that they throw onto it. We're still playing the same games, the same types of games, and there has been no shift. So thank you very much for watching this video, and of course pop along to the Game Shack, check out the original question and answer it for yourself. If you've enjoyed this, hit like. If you haven't enjoyed it, hit dislike. Makes no difference to me as long as you interact, and of course comments down below. If you've disagreed with where I stand in retro, which I'm sure many people will, then down in the comments and we'll have a good old chinwag about it. But thank you again, and until next time, cheerio.